So we've got about 90 minutes, a little less than 90 minutes or so, to talk about AI. I'm excited to be here. My name is Joe Burak. I am the Chief Strategist at Transit Strategy and Analytics. I can call myself whatever I want because I started the company about 4 years ago. I had been with National Association of Home Builders Federation for about 20 years. So I was consultant with NAHB in the advisory services capacity, doing strategic plans, leadership training, membership programming for the local and state associations, and then ran a local home builders association in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I was there for about 6 years in the trenches with our builders there, and then came back to NAHB and was there for about 8 years, 9 years, as the Vice President of Federation Services. So I had a pretty big portfolio that included membership recruitment and retention, regional field operations, the Executive Officers Council, as well as a data analytics team that I had started when I was there. And I decided, kind of during COVID, to go hang my shingle. I had completed my MBA back in 2015, focused on machine learning, which is kind of an early term for AI. So when you hear AI, you hear machine learning. It's kind of been around for a while. So, let's do a couple icebreakers. You good with that? All right. So now that you guys got to know me, I want to get to know you. You're all businessmen and women. So I just want to kind of get a sense of just how maybe comprehensive and sophisticated our operations are. So go ahead and just stand up real quick. Oh yeah, I'm going to make you do that. Yep. So we're going to add a few numbers together, all right? And I apologize for you guys in the front. Hopefully I don't spattle on you. Yeah, exactly. So just collectively, 2 plus 2.
4.
Oh my God. It's morning. We should have a lot of energy here. 2 plus 2.
4.
4 plus 4.
8.
Okay, we're going to do this again. 2 plus 2.
4.
4 plus 4.
8.
All right, I want you guys to be loud when we shout this out, okay? So we're going to start all over. Come on in. We're just getting started. Yeah, great. We got spots right up front. Of course, those are always the last ones to go.
What was that?
The ones up front are always the last ones to go. All right, so we're counting numbers today. I want to see how well you guys count numbers. So collectively, 2 plus 2.
4.
4 plus 4.
8.
Perfect. We're going to start all over. 1,000 plus 40.
1,040.
Plus 1,000.
2,040.
Plus 30.
2,070.
Plus 1,000.
3,070.
Plus 20.
3,090.
Plus 1,000.
4,090.
Plus 10.
5,100.
Oh, yeah, 4,100.
Who said 5,000?
I did.
Ah. How many of you deal with payroll, finances, accounting? Who got 5,000? Go ahead, grab a seat. So how is it that collectively, for the most part, except we had 4,100, which is the right answer, actually, how is it that most of you ended up at 5,000?
You tricked us.
How did I trick you? I was just you just add numbers. Very simple numbers. You didn't even do subtraction, right? We're not even balancing a ledger here. So how'd you end up at 5,000?
It's a pattern.
It's a pattern, yeah. So, but what's that?
You think of 4 or 5?
Yeah, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You kind of got to do a pattern, right? So I ask you guys a quick question. Does the future ever come at us in a straight line? No. But how often do we run our businesses, manage kind of our home affairs, running the kids to soccer, whatever, and it just feels like it's never ending. It's the same thing over Groundhog's Day, right? Over and over and over again. And the fascinating thing about AI is we're kind of treating it the same way, right? It's a new technology. We're going to integrate it into our systems. We're going to kind of figure this out as we go along. But I assure you, I doubt that there's really anyone in this room, myself included here, that really understands the pace at which this is going. And we're going to get into that here in a second. But we get into a pattern, right? We get into this learned rhythm of how we anticipate things are going. How many of you had heard about ChatGPT 10 years ago? Nobody. I mean, it existed. It got started in 2015. but they really didn't come out with their first models until 2016 or 2017, and they didn't commercialize any of that until just a couple of years ago, 2021, 2022. So this whole kind of idea of AI and what it means to us and our business, it's all relatively new. And we're running our businesses, we're doing our operations, we're managing our payrolls and everything as if nothing has really changed. But I'm telling you, there's a lot that has changed in the last couple of years, and that's what we're going to get into. So how many of you have heard of ChatGPT? Okay. How many of you use ChatGPT? Okay. That helped you graduate? Is that right? No, you know what? That's fantastic. We'll talk about that. How many of you have used Claude? Oh, you use Claude. What do you use Claude for?
Meetings, conference calls, things like that.
Okay.
The fact that it creates the summary
Yep.
after it's all over with, it's a 4-hour meeting.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, so Claude is like ChatGPT. It's owned by Anthropic, which is another Bay Area, call it a startup. But it operates similarly to ChatGPT, but it has a lot of differences. We're going to get into some of that here in just a little bit. What about Perplexity? Nobody's used Perplexity in here. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. It's great. Perplexity is considered the Google killer, and I'm going to talk about this here in just a second. So what I want to do today is, one, kind of give you a brief overview of kind of where we're at with AI today. It's moving at a not glacial pace, it's moving at a very, very hastened pace. But what does it mean to us and kind of our day-to-day activities, right? We know what it means, obviously, with school, right? It helps us maybe complete some of the assignments a little bit faster. But the idea is, how can it help us do our job a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, potentially increase our revenues, and, help us keep a little bit more money, and have less money go out the door, right? So ultimately, we're trying to figure out, how do we crash workflows, how do we improve our systems, how do we just do things a little bit better? And that's what I want to get to here, is that AI doesn't exist without the human. You have to have a person in the loop. And we're going to talk again a little bit more about that. So there's 2 sessions on AI today that I have the opportunity to give. So this session is really just kind of this overview for building professionals. I'm going to be using some examples of some videos that I've actually created. I've got my own YouTube channel where I host this. But I want to walk through what some of these examples potentially look like, give you guys, I just want to kind of get the creative juices flowing, get you start to thinking about what are the tools that are out there, how can those tools be put to use in our personal lives and in our business. And then the second phase, which is going to be this afternoon, is going to be more of a hands-on session. And the hands-on session is really like, bring your laptops, bring your notebooks, your iPads, and we're going to go through and work in some groups and just kind of get our hands dirty with some of this technology. So if you feel like you're behind on AI, you're in good company, because everybody's behind on AI. Even Google and even OpenAI itself, believe it or not, is behind on this technology, because we're just really starting to learn how it can be administered in a way to make us a little bit more efficient. So we'll move on to my next question. So how many people need to be in this room for there to be a 99% chance, almost 100% chance, that 2 of you share the same birthday? So you're saying you don't think it's that high of a number.
Are you talking mathematically or in practice?
Both.
Okay, because
Statistically, yeah. So how many, just ballpark, 300 people? 200? So if you think 50-50, well, the question is how many people, right? So do we need 300 people in this room for there to be almost 100% chance that 2 of you share the same birthday? How many of you think 300? Raise your hand. What's that? 700? Okay, so we got 700. All right, I'll throw out some numbers. 1,000? 450? Okay. For there to be 100% chance that 2 of you share the same birthday. So we've got, would you say 700? We got 450. I forget what. 1,000. 366. Okay. I know how you came up with that number. What about a leap year? We'll throw that on. No. Not going to throw you guys a curveball. What else? Okay, how many of you think more than 200? Okay, more than 100. More than 50. Okay.
Anybody have a birthday in here besides my wife today?
Oh, happy birthday.
So it's not 30.
39 was what I was going to guess. Okay, so 57.
Wow.
Seems kind of low, right?
Yeah.
So again, let's talk statistics for a second. So we went through the little numbers exercises, just a little while ago, and we couldn't get 4,100. We ended up with mostly 5,000, except 4,100. So how you only need 57. So what happens is if you got 57 people, they can be paired with 56 people. That 56th person can be paired with 55. That 55th person can be paired with 54, so on and so forth, right? And once you add up all of those potential pairings, you get 1,600 possible pairings of just people, right? So the likelihood in this room, so I think that there were 50 chairs that were counted, so all the chairs were filled. The likelihood, for the most part, would be about 100% that two of you would share the same birthday. Seems unlikely, but that's statistics, right? And this goes to show really just how poor we are at understanding statistics as humans. We're not wired to understand statistics. We're not wired to understand, massive slopes, inclines, exponential growth. We're just not. What we're wired to understand is that tomorrow is going to kind of look like today. That's what we're wired to understand. So it's hard for us as businessmen and women to kind of get out of that. And that's why I like to start with these. This is a graph that I actually had Claude come up with. I said, just, the birthday paradox, give me a graph that shows me for every person what's the probability. And you can see that, it's kind of low at the beginning and then it increases pretty significantly. It's not an exponential graph, but it increases pretty significantly. So by the time you get to, 25 people, you're at already 50% probability that two of you are going to share the same birthday, right? And then you get up to, you only need, 35 people to have about an 80% chance, right? So it increases almost 30 points with just 10 more people, right? We don't really think about numbers this way, but when it comes to AI, and the reason why I use this to showcase AI is that we're living in a kind of a world of paradoxes right now, is that we don't understand. And again, I don't understand this. OpenAI, who's coming up with the technology, doesn't really even understand how fast this is going. And what I mean by that is, the processor speeds that are powering these AI tools, what enterprise systems are able to do with these AI tools, how this technology is actually being just evolving on almost an hourly basis now. It's not even just daily. It's evolving very, very quickly. There was an economist back in the 19th century, British economist, William Givan, I think is how you pronounce his name. And it was fascinating because he noticed that with coal consumption, as the efficiency of the steam engines increased, right, so they were burning less coal, more coal was being used. It's a paradox. So how is it that as steam engines became more efficient, that we were burning more coal?
More steam engines were being used.
What's that?
More steam engines were being used.
That's right. So as the price essentially comes down, right, as the efficiency goes up, the price comes down, more steam engines are being put into use, right? So overall, we're just using more of that technology, right? So you fast forward to AI adoption today, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So current economists, and I'm sure Rob Dietz would love to talk about this, current economists are finding that as AI becomes more efficient, the adoption rates are going up, right? And as the adoption rates go up, the AI becomes even more efficient. It kind of is a feedback loop that feeds itself. So we're able to do, 2.5, 3 years ago when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, we were able, people were kind of playing around with it. What could you do with it? I was having it give me some dad jokes. And it was really good at providing dad jokes. And it knew a little bit about the context of what was going on and kind of current history, but it was trained on a data set that stopped about maybe 6 months earlier, right? So if you asked it something that was historically relevant that happened in the last week, it just didn't know, right? Because the data it had been trained on, which was millions and millions of publications and Reddit feeds and internet websites and you name it, just stopped, right? But we don't have that today. It's pretty much trained on data that's being fed into these websites and into periodicals and publications, daily. So it's able to update that data and get better at the outputs and the information that it's giving you. So as that happens, so if you think about as that happens, the cost and the price of this technology is going to come down. The more complex kind of calculations we're going to be able to do with it. And that's if there's one takeaway, it's the fact that it's moving so quickly today. So Perplexity. I had asked you guys a little earlier if you had heard about Perplexity, used Perplexity, and nobody in the room had used it, right? So Perplexity is fascinating. There were 4 engineers that got together. 2 of them I think had worked at Google. 1 had worked maybe at OpenAI. I can't remember where the other one worked. And they got together in 2022 and they built essentially a new search engine. And Perplexity is really, if you think about like internet research, you can type a question into Perplexity and it will go out there and it will scour the internet and it'll pull that information back almost like a ChatGPT answer. So instead of Google, so when you Google something, what comes up?
Websites.
Websites, right? It indexes websites. That's all it does. So if you're in marketing, SEO, you care about keyword searches, right? You care about page 1 results. My company needs to be on page 1 when somebody is Googling builder Greenville, South Carolina. I need to be on page 1 because otherwise it's, the drop off to go to page 2 and page 3 is pretty significant, right? And I need to keyword stuff. So I need to have custom in there and craft and all these different kind of building, related words so that people will hit my website. Well, what Perplexity did was they kind of flipped the script. They said, we're going to go out there, we're going to scour the website, for your answer, we're going to pull that back and we're going to aggregate it into an answer that's like an answer that your friend would give you or an administrative assistant would give you. And what happened is it scared Google. Because now, instead of indexing, because if I index, I have to now click on each of those websites to go get the information. So if I Google myself, I have to click on all the websites that I'm on, right? But if I use Perplexity, it aggregates it all, gives me the answer right there, so I don't need to kind of click through. But what Perplexity did was something a little bit innovative, is that they actually added the source of which they got that information. So if you were interested in finding out where that came from, you could then click on that and it'll show you and take you to that website and that information, right? So it indexes it as well, but it's not hidden, it's there, you can use it if you want. And Perplexity got started in 2022. Within a year, they achieved unicorn status. They are now reaching a $20 billion valuation. 4 people started this company. 3 or 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. That's how fast this technology is going right now. Now, when you Google something, what happens today? What first pops up?
AI mode.
That's because of Perplexity. Because all of a sudden Google realized pretty quickly, wait a minute, like they have this feature that aggregates all this information. So now if you can get the summary in AI mode on Google, what's the likelihood that you're actually going to click on those websites and go, right? So you've just disrupted Google's ad revenue, which is a lot of the revenue. So NVIDIA's CEO, anybody here invested in NVIDIA? Anybody got into NVIDIA about a year ago? You're sitting on some good money. So NVIDIA, it kind of ebbs and flows on the day. I don't know what the market's doing today, but it was the world's wealthiest company, right? The biggest market cap in NVIDIA. And NVIDIA creates the processors that generate all these AI. And people are talking AI bubble, and I'm not quite certain about that, but that's just me. Don't invest based on my interest here. But NVIDIA's CEO said when Perplexity came out, these guys are going to kill Google. He's like, all that I use is Perplexity. I don't need to Google anything anymore because Perplexity gives me the information in a more organic form, and then that way I'm not having to do all this grunt work behind the scenes to go chase down this information. It's right there for me. So if you're doing online research, you're looking at moving into new markets, you want to look at a competitor, you want to look at products, use Perplexity to do that. And it has a free version, and you can do a number of searches on the free version. And I think it only brings up 5 sources on the free version, but on the paid version, some searches I've done brings up 90 sources. And it just aggregates all that data. So there are 3 types of businesses as I see it today. One is AI adapted, another's AI native, and the third one is non-AI, right? So let's start with non-AI. If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? I think about maybe business owners, managers, directors who are like, hey, you know what? This is just like crypto. It's just like blockchain, right? Is it going to be kind of a fly-by-night thing? Do I really need to be paying attention to this? Do I need to invest in this? Like, is it really going to help me in my company, right? And then you've got AI native, which are companies that are starting off as AI first companies. So if you think about the technology that we've just kind of talked about, just a couple of quick hits, they're saying we're going to automate as much of our stack as possible. So we're forms that need to be filled out, databases that need to be filled out, all that stuff is going to be automated as much as possible. We don't need to have a human drive that. We're going to automate as much as possible. And then the rest are AI adapted. The question is, where are you guys right now? AI adapted. And I would say most companies today are figuring out how to adapt AI to what they're doing, right? Now, if you think in the AI terms, so AI tools that are adapted, has anybody used Microsoft Copilot? Right? It's integrated into the 365 system, right? You can use Microsoft Copilot to write letters, to maybe fancy up some emails, maybe make them sound a little bit more politer. Sometimes I want to bang that email off and be like, can you make this sound better? Because I'm a little frustrated, right? And it can do, and you can use Copilot in your Excel. So if you're managing, you don't even need to know how to do pivot tables anymore, which is awesome. To me, that's a game changer. You can use so it's embedded, it's integrated into the Microsoft systems and packages, right? You're starting to see AI being integrated maybe into your ERP systems, your CRMs. Everything today seems to have some type of AI, and that frustrates me a little bit because not all of it's AI. It's just, it's a little veneer, on it. But, the one that worries me the most, I know what worries me the most. Which one of these would worry you the most as a competitor?
AI native now,
AI native, right? Why?
because I can't compete with them because they are way more advanced than I am, or I might be.
Yeah. You know what they don't have? They don't have legacy systems. They don't have people saying that's the way we've always done it, right? And you get some of these companies, I know entrepreneurs out there for a fact who are hunting and searching for industries to disrupt right now. And they're trying to identify what industries are moving at a glacial pace, and can I automate half of what they're doing right now? I have no legacy systems. I can just start with these tools right away. And if I can automate half of that away, does that put them kind of on the radar? Maybe, right? And this is kind of the business enterprise kind of environment that we're in right now. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because this is what I'm seeing out there right now. I'm seeing companies that are integrating it, and I'm seeing companies that are saying, we're going to kind of hit the brakes a little bit and see. There's one organization that I know, one trade association that just started allowing their employees to use Copilot. They can't use any of the other AI tools. And I think, wow, I recognize there's some privacy concerns, and we can talk about that at a later point, but talk about like hog tying the people that can do things faster, quicker, to be more strategic and more creative. So that gets me to one of my favorite sayings. The future doesn't belong to AI. The future belongs to the people who are actually using it. And this is where the human can't be taken out of it, right? We can try to automate as much as we want. And I've seen groups who have automated, and it failed. And it failed for a number of different reasons. So just automating doesn't necessarily give you a competitive advantage. It's the ability to automate in a way that makes the most sense to you and your team. So if you've got an organic workflow and you don't really want to disrupt it, is there a part of that workflow that could use AI to maybe crash that a little bit. That's kind of where we want to start. So you got to have a human on the front end to feed the information into an AI tool, right? Somebody's prompting ChatGPT to do something. And then you have to have a human on the back end to look at the output, right? You got to have somebody identify, is this, we're not just saying, hey, write me an email to this person, I'm going to take that email and send it right away. Maybe, but you've probably proofed it first, right? So there has to be a human in the loop with all of this. So just a couple of quick stats since we got started with statistics. So AI's impact on workers, this comes from the World Economic Forum. This was a report that was written probably about 9 months ago. And I've seen it with not just the World Economic Forum, but McKinsey and the major consultancies. They're all kind of about the same place. 30% of workers are going to be impacted by 2027, which means that the work that they're doing, just their daily routines are going to be impacted by AI, meaning there's going to be a change in the way that they do it. They're going to have some type of AI assistant that's going to help them do it a little bit better, a little bit easier. And then 50% of the work tasks. So you think about if you just take a job and you break it down to the individual tasks, half of those tasks are going to have some type of AI component to it within the next couple of years. So again, this is what they're anticipating. Who knows if it's going to play out this way, because the future never comes at us in a straight line. So I have this quick little Slido. So if you want to bring out your phones, you can scan this code and take my little quiz. And it asks, if you could hand over 3 tasks today, just to automate, so that you could focus on higher value work, what would they be? And I tried to be as comprehensive as possible, but there's a lot more below that. So scroll up, add, and this should start to update in real time.
Just 3?
Yeah, I think, well, maybe it allows you to do more. You can do more if you want, but I think I capped it at 3. There we go. Okay, so we've got social media, all right, meeting, prep, and follow-up. All right. This is where I feel like I'm the announcer at the horse race, because they all start jockeying for position here. So scheduling, expense report, social media, data summarization, and analysis. Okay. Scheduling, expense reports, data. All right, has everybody put theirs in? We're still putting some in. All right, so we might have a few more. So right now it looks like scheduling is number 1, expense reports number 2, data summarization and analysis, that doesn't surprise me, social media, and then kind of lower is meeting prep and follow-up, job site documentation, spreadsheet creation. Okay.
Interesting that even just reading through the list, I'm thinking, okay, well, what could AI do, rather than thinking, what do I want off my plate?
Right.
So I'm even thinking about it wrong.
Well, I don't think it's wrong. I think that's a natural way to think about it, right?
Right.
So you get.
But if I were to think about it as, what would I, starting with, what am I taking the most, what takes up the most amount of my time?
Yep.
Then come up with a way to have
Yeah.
AI or something else do it. That's better way of thinking about it. And
Yep.
because it might not be able to do it yet, but then you get the people to start working on the problem of,
Well, that's right.
how do you make it do this?
Yeah, and you realize pretty quickly. So what I recommend, and I don't think I added this slide in here, but what I recommend any CEO, manager do today is look at the top 3 headaches that you have, and then pick one and see if you can find an AI solution to it. You may not have somebody in-house. You might need to hire somebody to do it. But somebody that can help you kind of crash that workflow. And once you get that flywheel going, it becomes a lot easier. You start identifying then other areas, right? And you're like, oh, well, it worked here. Maybe we could potentially have it over here, and that's going to save us 10%, 20% of time, right? So over time, that all adds up. So I think you're right. I think it's normal to look at it as what can AI solve for me today based on what I know about it. But what you realize that it can be utilized in so many different ways. It's just a matter of, well, let me start with the headache first and then back up from there.
Right.
So scheduling is, that's number 1, expense reports number 2, data summarization analysis number 3. Any surprises here for you guys? No? Yeah, no surprises for me. The last time I spoke to, it was to a business league out in Reno. The data summarization was number one. It was the first time data was number one on this. So I think as people recognize that AI can do this, right, they realize, oh, well, that's what I want off my plate, right? If I'm having to analyze all this data and do the financial analysis, maybe even the month-end books, like if I can automate a piece of that, that would be awesome. So, yeah, exactly. Well,
Communication with subs.
there's actually some really cool tools. I don't have it in here, but that we could kind of talk about offline. Okay. So, so just a couple of things. I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but it is evolving. All the industries are evolving. Architects are using it as design assistants. I went to AIA earlier this summer, and it was amazing at how often we were talking ChatGPT. It was really kind of a basics course, but they really wanted to know, are there any kind of power tools out there that can help me on kind of my CAD and my software to really either read the blueprints, to do the plans, or just to take pieces of different architectural drawings and put them together in a different way, right? They're already thinking about how they can do that. Lenders, obviously, they've been using machine learning for a long time to assess risk. Actually, we just recently got a new car, and when it went through the financial tools, it was all AI. They approved us and had everything done within a matter of like 5 minutes. And it's just fascinating to kind of watch that back-end process. And then project managers are relying on supply forecasts instead of just spreadsheets. Attorneys, I've got some friends that work at the Corporate Council of America, I think is what it's called, CCA. They're all in on AI. Because the reality is, if you're doing corporate contracts, and the contracts are similar from client to client, right? AI tool can kind of manage all that. The fear that I've got then is what happens to your first year associates, right? And if you're not replenishing those associates over time, then what happens to the partners 15 years down the line, right? So, how's that all going to play out, or is it going to just shift the type of work that they're going to do? So to a child with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And what I mean by this is when I asked you all what tool you use the most, well, we all kind of saw that, right? ChatGPT. But ChatGPT, can it do everything that we want it to do? No. What does ChatGPT excel at?
Writing copy?
It does great with copy. That's right. Content, copy. That's right. The written word. What else? Is it good at data analytics?
I don't know.
Right? You haven't used it that way. It's decent at data, but there's another tool that I like better. So ChatGPT can't do it all, right? But that's what we know because that's the one that kind of was first to market, and that's become what we know out in the marketplace. So here's your toolkit. So we've got ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Notebook LM, Gamma, Otter, Zapier, SaneBox. So ChatGPT is really good at the written word. Claude is really good. It's kind of like a ChatGPT style system, but Claude's really good at data analytics and coding, and there's a lot of, so I'm gonna get through most of these today with some of the videos that I have. So this is where we were getting caught up earlier, is I was trying to play my video here, and it was telling me that I needed to log in to, let's see if it plays it. No, it's telling me that I needed to log into YouTube. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna get out of, so for the next probably 20, 25 minutes, I'm gonna show you some videos. Some of them are gonna be kind of promotional videos for that particular tool. The others are gonna be videos that I put together to show you use cases of how you can use that particular product. So just to give you an idea of what it can do, and so Perplexity, we've got a couple for Claude, and then I'm gonna use my YouTube channel to do this. And these were all embedded, but it won't. Yeah, see, apparently it thinks I'm a bot. So let's get over here, and we'll do this. And let's play.
Email is how we get work done. Except when you have too much email to accomplish anything. SaneBox saves you 3 to 4 hours per week by letting you focus on the emails that matter. SaneBox isn't a spam filter, and it doesn't delete units. It's a smart tool that automatically organizes your inbox. Here's how it works. Start with a free email deep clean. SaneBox's AI will scan your email account to find the senders, newsletters, and websites that send you the most email. Just look over the list for senders that are no longer relevant and move their messages to your trash folder. Now that your email account is clean, next we'll deal with your incoming email. SaneBox automatically puts every new email in its place. Important emails remain at the top of your inbox, so you can get to them right away. SaneBox's AI automatically sorts the less important emails into a separate folder, so you can review them in your spare time. You can also train SaneBox just by dragging and dropping emails. For those useless emails, like relentless sales pitches from an annoying marketer, drag them into the same black hole folder, and you'll never have to hear from them again. You can do the same thing with other SaneBox folders, and even create your own custom folders to fit your workflow. Best of all, you don't need to learn any new software. SaneBox works in your current email client, wherever you read your email. Email shouldn't make you less productive. Try SaneBox free for 14 days.
Okay, so you guys get the picture.
Spend less time on email and more time.
So SaneBox uses AI to initially do a deep clean of your email. So it looks at the people that you interact with the most, the types of emails that you open up, the topics that you're interacting with, and it uses AI to really kind of identify this. And then what you recognize pretty quickly is there's only kind of like maybe 10% of your inbox that you really do anything with. The rest of it can then be put to either the same black hole or newsletters, and it does such a great job at cleaning that when I look at my inbox, I'm not overwhelmed anymore about having to kind of click through and skip through the advertisers. Google does a decent job with Gmail to kind of filter stuff out. But this is more than just a filtering tool. It really just uses that AI on the front end to kind of go through and see. So I think from a personal productivity, I know other folks that use this and they love it because it really is kind of cleaned up what they do, and then it's good moving forward. And it's $100 a year. So, to have a clean email inbox, for me, it's kind of worth it. And so a couple of the tools that we're going to talk about, most of the tools, they all have a free version that you can try. There are paid versions. So if you want to pay for ChatGPT, it's $20 a month. Perplexity is $20. They're all pretty much $20 a month. There's one that's called Gamma. That's $10 a month, and that builds slide decks, and it's fascinating. So we'll walk through that here in a second. So what I want to do is just kind of showcase the next kind of 2 or 3 programs are going to be ChatGPT based. So how I've used ChatGPT, how I've seen clients use ChatGPT to really just kind of update some of their systems and do kind of different business operations. So this one is event ideas. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, you're a fun and innovative events director. We own a kitchen and bath showroom and looking for some neat ideas for our next customer appreciation day. Please give me 5 that are easy to plan and are super thoughtful, right? So we've probably all used ChatGPT in this way to ideate something, right? So I just want to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to start off with something that probably looks familiar. And then you can see, here are 5 easy to plan. There's, sip and style coffee bar, mini makeover giveaway wall. And then it kind of goes on and on about, behind the scenes tour and demo. So this will run for about 20 seconds. And then what I do is I say, sketch out a simple timeline. I just want this to be a turnkey plan. And then it says, okay, here's the one that we went with. Here's what you do with the food and beverage setup. Here's what you do with the tour. Here's how you do in terms of your marketing, right? And then it asks, do you want to create sample emails, right? So I could continue to iterate based on that because it's already kind of had that feed. So I can continue to ask it, I want emails. Let's work on the marketing plan. So within a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, I might have a full-on networking event that's already been planned out for me that would have taken me hours to do. And if I'm not always the most creative person, so sometimes it even takes me longer, right? And then I drag my feet and I end up finding 2 or 3 other things to work on instead of doing that. And it just helped me crash that process a little bit faster. So the next one, let's see here. This is the event. So we already did that one. All right, let's move on to our brand voice. So this is one that I encourage every business, every organization, find out what your brand voice is. Because when you then write any content with ChatGPT, it's already written in your brand voice. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So what I'm asking it here is I say you're a media maven and you're a brand voice expert. Your job is to assess and thoroughly articulate the brand voice for this is the Minnesota Builders Exchange. Write it in the tone of knowledgeable, friend, warm, clear, sincere, while offering expert level observation. Your goal is to help them better understand their tone, style, language, what's shaping audience perception to support the mission. Review the website, blog articles, and weekly bulletins. So what I've done is I've said, look at their website. I'm gonna give you collateral that our business has already done. It's already written in our brand voice. And I want you to extract that voice for me. And we'll see what it does. So it thinks. And what it does with ChatGPT 5, it actually went to a thinking model. Instead of just giving me the answer right away, it's actually doing that research. So it's going in, it's looking at the website, it's looking at the blog posts, it's looking at the collateral, and then it starts to build, here's your brand voice. Here are the tone and style patterns, here's your strength, here are some gaps, here are your voice pillars, all this stuff that would probably mean a lot to somebody that's a marketer, but maybe not so much me. So what I ask it to do now, I'm going to go back real quick. So what I ask it to do is to build, so I say, turn these into comprehensive instructions so that I can create essentially my own GPT. Has anybody created their own custom GPTs in ChatGPT? No? Does anybody know what a custom GPT is?
Well, you're using that tool to fine-tune the responses based on your input and collaborative. Cumulatively build over time your iterations, and it crafts more specific to your specific needs or your voice, your whatever.
Yep.
That kind of iterative building the GPT assumes you're subscribing to the plan, because I don't think you can do that just hitting the free version.
Yeah, you can't build your own on the free version. Now you can use somebody else's GPT. Right. So if you're in an office and one person has a license and you don't, but they've built a GPT and they can share that with you. So you can use it, but you just can't build your own.
Conceivably, that'd be like letting somebody use your music service or your YouTube, and it starts to taint your taint your selection. You know, it can
if they modify those instructions, that's right. But in terms of just regular interactions, no, it won't impact it unless you're actually changing those back-end instructions.
Okay, so it's not not based cumulative usage of the questions you're asking as much as it is, okay, save this.
Yeah, the memory is more based on kind of the custom instructions that you put in. It will create a memory based on how you're interacting with it, and it'll kind of get a sense of like the types of questions that you're asking, but it's not going to go in and holistically change that all based on somebody else's use of it. Yep.
These are all great tools, but what I found is you really need to be as thoughtful about how you query and how you build the request, and that's where I'm looking for resources.
That's the second session. That's the hands-on tool where we're going to learn how to prompt. So we're going to learn how to write these types of prompts. What I want to show you right now is just how you can use it, what's possible, and then we're going to get into actually how to use some of the technology during the second session. So in this one, I just ask it for those custom instructions, and then in the paid version of ChatGPT, you can save it as its own GPT. So it could be my newsletter writer, it could be my LinkedIn poster, whatever it is. Then anytime that it writes something, it's all going to be written in the tone and the style that I've just asked it. So you can see it's got like, hold on here, sample copy, it's got quality checklist. I take all that information and I'll show you in the second how to set up your GPT. If we have time here, I'll show you guys how to do it real quick. But it's just a set of custom instructions. So you've just taken that, you've added those custom instructions. So then anytime you write something, you're just gonna go through those custom instructions to write it. So it's already saved. You don't have to then proof it every single time for how you want it to sound. All right, let's move on to the next one.
So that's the tool that politicians blame for terrible.
Oh,
posts.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I mean, I would hate to think what speech writers think about this stuff today, right? You think about just how much time and effort that they put into writing these speeches. And the one speech that always stands out to me is after the Challenger explosion, when Reagan was talking and he talked about the astronauts slipping the surly bonds of Earth to touch the face of God. Still sends shivers down my spine when you think about that. But, and now everybody can sound like that, which is, I don't know, it's kind of creepy, but it's kind of what we have today. All right, so this one is GPT for your employee handbook. And this is very simple. This one I'm saying I actually create a custom GPT and I upload my employee handbook to it. So then it's already kind of trained on that, and I can give that custom instructions. I can give that handbook then out to any of my team members. So if they have a question over vacation time, over PTO, over holidays for that particular year, it's already there in the handbook. They can just go in, query the handbook. It's not going to make anything up because it's just pulling the information down from that handbook. So it just makes kind of your HR teams a little bit easier. And if you are the HR team, it might save you from having to answer the same question over and over and over again because people have access to it. And then,
Access and using two different things.
yeah, that's right. So this one, so we did, let me make sure I got all my videos up here. So we did the events, we did the GPT, training new employees. Let's see if I got that one up here. So this is where it's a little bit more complex, right? So I started with something very simple and I'm getting into more complex instructions. And this is just ChatGPT. And what I'm doing here is I might have, let's say, a showroom. And I'm having to train employees, new employees from time to time on my expectations of them managing people who are coming through the door, right? So what I want to do is I've set up my own ChatGPT, custom GPT, that serves as a coach to allow them to essentially go through these little exercises online through the system, and it prompts them, if somebody, a young couple walks in, how would you greet them? What's the next step after they say what they say, right? And then after a couple of interactions, it gives them some feedback. And this is all through ChatGPT. So a young couple walk into the showroom and it's like, great, this is a training scenario. So a young couple walk in and the wife smiles and says, hi, we're just looking, how do you greet them? And you reply, how do you reply? Welcome to our showroom. What are you looking for today? Oh, nothing in particular. We're just looking. We bought our first house. We're just kind of getting ideas and we're not ready to buy anything yet. Okay, how do you respond? Great, congratulations. How big is the home? And they say, the client mode still, thanks, it's a small starter home. It's about 1,400 square feet. Kitchen's, has been updated since the 90s, so I can imagine Backstreet Boys posters and NSYNC posters all over the place. And then I say, okay, I'd love to give you a tour of our showroom floor. That's great. And now the coach mode comes on and it's like, nice move, offering the tour is perfect. Here's a couple of things that you did really well. Next time, you might want to do a little bit more discovery before you just jump into doing the showroom floor, right? So these are the types of ways that you can use this on kind of the HR and employee side to just help get, this isn't going to maybe solve all your training problems, right? But it gives you another tool, kind of, another arrow in your quiver to do some cool things. Okay. And then this is Gamma. So how many of you build slide decks on a regular basis, PowerPoint presentations? Yeah. Have you heard of Gamma? Okay. So Gamma, there's a number of different kind of tools that are out there. Gamma, I think, is the best here. But you just put notes into it. You can prompt it like you would like ChatGPT, and it'll build a slide deck here for you. So I put in my notes for a presentation that I was going to give, which is called Automating the Mundane. And Gamma says, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. What kind of images do you want this presentation to have? And I say, describe, it says describe the colors and style. And I put in, I like, colorful 3D type cartoons. And make them expressive, make it fun, make it interactive. It says, okay, what kind of theme would you like? And it gives you some options in terms of whatever you want your presentation theme to look like. And I just go through and I select one. And it's like, okay, well, here's the theme preview. And it's thinking, and it's thinking. And then it starts to actually build the slide deck based on my notes. So it got the birthday paradox wrong, and maybe that might have been my notes that I put in, but it was not 253. And then what it starts to do is it understands the context enough that it starts building these little infographics. I didn't tell it to build a pyramid. I didn't tell it to build this wheel for the human sandwich. It just did it. So it understands the context and starts, and then it goes back in and fills in all the graphics for it, right? Now, this might not get you, 100% of the way there, but imagine if it got you 50% of the way there. Is this something that you could see yourself using? Yeah. So if it gets you 50% of the way there, you've just saved 50% of your time, right? I think what most of us suffer from often is kind of the blank screen syndrome, right? It's like you're looking at, how do I even get started? And I feel like a lot of the AI tools, it just helps you get started. Okay. So let's see what the next one is. So we had,
Question out.
yeah, what you got?
You sponsored by any of these companies?
Nope. I take no share on any of this stuff. No. And the reason why I highlight them is that I use these companies. I use them in my daily workflows. So I wouldn't talk about something that I don't know or that I don't particularly use. Now, there's Beautiful AI, there's all kinds of other kind of slide deck companies that are out there that do this stuff, but I'm showing you the ones that I think work for the space. I come from this space. I worked 20 years in the Federation. I know what it's like having to run a trade association. We had 3 staff, right? But we had to do the work of 10 staff. We had to lobby, we had to advocate, we had to put on programs. So whatever we could do to crash that, and I know from working with builders and the suppliers what the headaches are, right? So understanding how some of these tools could be advanced in a way to kind of make your job a little bit easier is what.
You're doing a great job of selling it. That's why.
Oh, that's funny. No, it's coming from just my interaction with it and how I've learned how to use some of these tools. So we're going to do, automating, expense reporting was one of them, data analysis, and Claude as a personal assistant. So I'm going to have to get over, and this, I didn't have a chance because we had this.
Paying them $20 a month.
Yeah, they should be, yeah, exactly. You're paying them. So we're going to do a couple here where I may have already had like a narrator come in. So there's the Gamma slide deck, elevating your content, brand voice. So the Claude is your personal assistant. Let's do we want to do the expense reports, right? Let's do that one. Let's see if I can find, that's automating market research with Perplexity. We'll get to that one here in a second. That's your data analysis. Where'd my expense report one go? There's your automating expense reports. There we go. So I apologize, you have to see kind of the behind the scenes because it just won't work. So this one, what I did was I'm using Claude, and I'll actually make this a little bit bigger for you. So I'm using Claude, and I say, here's a template of an expense report that I want. But I don't want to actually have to fill this out myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to upload pictures, some images of my receipts, and I want you to do the work for me. So we'll see Claude get to work. So I say I need to create an expense report for a work trip. The finished report should look like all these different fields that I want to extract from it. And then what Claude does is actually goes in and it tells you, okay, it looks like a generic expense report. I get it. Upload your receipts. And then you can see it starts to build it right here on the side. Right? This is real time. Right? It just builds this all out into a table. And then I say, okay, that's great. Now I want to be able to download it. Now, when I recorded this video, Claude only allowed you to be able to download as a CSV file. You couldn't download in a native app like Excel. That's changed. That actually changed 2 weeks ago. So Claude now has the ability to allow you just to download this as an Excel file and then be able to make any edits that you want to it, right? So now I've just crashed my time because I don't know anybody that likes expense reports. But now I've just said, here's what I want it to look like. Here are the receipts. Build it out for me. Then maybe there's a little bit of editing that I need to do at the end, and then it's done. Yeah.
We are going to have access to this recording after the show, right?
You will. Yes. Yeah, you'll have access to the record. They've got me mic'd up right now. And I'm sure they're probably like, stop talking so loud. So that was.
You have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. This is where I keep all these videos. And I'm editing the videos to actually have like an AI presenter talk about what the video means. Because it doesn't mean anything if it's, means something to me if I'm up here narrating it, right? But I've got some, and I can even show you guys, it's kind of cool. So it's like a little AI, bot that like talks, and it's a cartoon character that I've animated that talks about what the video is, right? So yeah, I'm about ready. I'm gonna launch that probably in the next couple weeks. So the next one, so there's data analysis, and then Claude is your personal assistant. So let's check those out. Now let's get back to my channel. So there is expense reports, so data analysis. Let's do this one. And
I haven't been to the grocery store in over a year, but I'm eating
She
healthier
is
than
so
ever,
hungry.
just
She's
like,
never been to the
meal
grocery
planning
store.
used to be such a nice
Okay, skip. Okay, so it's gonna make us play 2 videos. That's the first time I've seen 2. Oh wait, is that the right video? I don't think it pulled up my video. Hold on here, let's try this again. Okay, good morning, Joey. So again, what I did here was I used Claude, and I had a lot of data from a survey that I had done for a client. Everything's been anonymized here. But what I asked it to do, it was a membership engagement survey. We asked a number of different questions, different values, and I put it into Claude and I said, here's what I want you to do is just summarize this at first. And what Claude actually did was not only did it summarize, but it built me a dashboard of the data. So you can see what it's doing right now is it's actually coding itself. That's what that window is down there. Is it's trying to understand the context of the survey. And it goes in and it's like, okay, I think I understand, I get the questions, I understand the types of questions, I understand how you ask the questions and what the scale was. And let me go ahead and let me kind of build this out. And at one point, it actually tries to run the code and it errors right there. And then it asks, do you want me to fix the coding here? Well, yeah, please. And it fixes it, and then it continues to recode, right? And then it comes up with this interactive dashboard with all the charts, the surveys, everything that I needed, right? And it did that. Now I fast forwarded, the video, but I did this all probably in about 20 minutes. So I was able to take what normally is a half a day process, crash it to about 20 minutes so that I can then kind of extract all the insights that I need, write the summary. Now what I could do there is if I was writing this for a board or for the C-level suite, I could then go back in and be like, this is great, just pull these charts out and write me a summary of these maybe some sales data for the C-level suite, and I'm done with my day, right? So I've just kind of crashed that entire research cycle into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour at most if I'm like editing some of the stuff at the very end, and I'm able to kind of send that off. I've got the insights, it extracted everything. I looked back, I made sure that the data was correct. I made sure that it extracted the right data. Claude excels at this. So if you're doing data analytics, any type of analysis, even the summarization, it does such a great job at that. And then the last, yeah.
You're saying that Claude was coding how to read it, and then came up with an error in its code that it wrote of itself, and asked you if it wanted, if he should correct his own mistake.
Yeah. So it tries to run, so it's iterative, right? So it tried to run that block of code, and it was like, there's something that's jamming this up, right? There's something that's wrong. Then it went back and it analyzed that block of code, fixed it, and then continued to rerun it. Yeah. But I guess you could say, I don't want you to fix it because I just wanted to I might want to get back in and recode something, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
You just answered my question.
Okay. What was?
Why would you select it? Why would you have
Why would you say?
the code? Why even ask to fix
Right.
it?
Yeah, it might air out halfway through and you're like, you know what? I thought about something. I want to go back in and change a couple of things and then have you go back in and code it, yeah. But for me, I'm kind of like, just no, keep going, right? I want to see what this thing's going to look like, and it's pretty awesome. And then the next thing on Claude that I want to show, which is a way that I've started to use Claude, is as a personal assistant. And this is where some of this AI technology is going. So there's the, I think I need to get back to my next screen here. Let's see. Automating market research. Where's my personal assistant here? Now I may have had the AI narrate this one, and if so, then we'll just let her talk. Nope. So this is the unnarrated one. So what I did in this was I've connected Claude to my Outlook, Gmail, Outlook, and my Google Calendar is what I've got it connected to. And it's got these connectors now on Claude, and some of the Perplexity kind of has this too, where once they're called, has anybody heard of the term MCP, Model Context Protocol? Has anybody ever heard of an API? So, right? So an MCP is almost kind of the next level of API that allows you to create what's called agentic AI. Have you heard of that term? It's kind of been filtering or sloshing around now for about a year. Agentic AI means that it can now connect to disparate systems and allow me then to extract data and insights from all these disparate systems with just a prompt. So what I did with Claude is I've connected it to my calendar, to my email, and I'm asking it, tell me what's on my calendar for the next couple of days. And then it pulls up some flight information, and then I say, okay, I want you to add something to my calendar. And then I can go ahead and it can take that. So all from that dashboard, you can then essentially have your own personal assistant that takes care of some of this stuff for you. So we'll see this go. So I say, I'm flying to Denver. Can you please tell me what my outbound flight is scheduled? And it goes through, searches the calendar. It then searches some of my email, and it makes sure that the data is correct. And then it pulls up, what's weird is it pulled up Tuesday, October 1st, and that's because it got into Outlook. And I don't really use Outlook. I just have it there just to showcase. So it got the date wrong on that. But you can see how it codes, and then it says, okay, I want to draft a friendly email to the person that's putting this conference on and just save that in my drafts folder. So when the conference is over, I can go take a look at it, customize it, and then send it off. Right? So now I can do that all from the Claude interface, just like I'm using ChatGPT, but it now connects to my disparate systems. This is where a lot of this technology is starting to go. So
do you think
1040.
any of those apps eventually gonna replace our virtual assistants?
I think they will become the virtual assistant, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they're driving towards, is to be able to engage and interact with your data, with your spreadsheets, with your ERP systems, with your scheduling tools, and you can all just run that from prompts. You can just say, here's what I need to do, scheduling, for example, right? I need to schedule this work crew to go out and check this out, boom, 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 and you just prompt it to do it. It then takes the certain steps that are necessary, and you can see how it thinks through, right? And that's what it's doing. That's what's called agentic AI.
And
so it's
with
thinking.
Time, more data developed and built up, it's going to be automatically suggesting stuff. Hey.
And then it'll suggest. Yeah, that's right. That's where it's driving towards. Is ultimately you'll open up your dashboard in the morning and it'll say, hey, here's what's on your schedule for the day. If you haven't already done so, you might want to draft an email to this person and this person and this person, because I know you've got these meetings coming up, and if you've got another meeting that you might want to have a transcription service, so Otter AI. We didn't talk about Otter because I couldn't get the video up, but if you want to transcribe that meeting, you might want to make sure that your Otter is live, and it'll just tell you what you probably need. Like, this is crazy to see what's going on. And we haven't even talked about the privacy concerns with any of this stuff. I'm just showing you what it can do. Doesn't necessarily mean you should be doing that, right? So,
Well, I guess we are too late for that.
right, that horse has left the gate, right?
Yeah.
So the last one that I want to show is just automating your market research, and I don't think it'll let me play it. No, it still says I'm a bot. So let's go back to this will be my last video, and then I'll be able to take some questions. So hopefully I'm not boring you with all this stuff and flipping back and forth, but let's see. So the last one was Perplexity, and I think that was right here. Automate your market research. So on this, I'm going to stop it right there. So again, Perplexity is a great research tool, right? It can go out on the internet and it can pull in different pieces of information, extract that data, kind of organize the data, ETL, so it extracts it, transforms the data, loads it then in a new system. So you have the ability to really kind of do deep level market research. So if you're moving into a new territory, you want to learn about a new product, you want to learn about a competitor, Perplexity is fantastic because it'll aggregate all that data for you with just a couple of prompts. And what you want to do with Perplexity though is there's the regular search, but then there's the research button. So you want to make sure that you click on research, and it might take up to 20 minutes for it to run all these processes, go out, aggregate, extrapolate, and then write the analysis for it. But what I'm asking it to do here is I said, okay, I'd like to benchmark NAHB against ABC and AGC. I want to look at things like board size, annual revenue, expenses, program offerings, right? I just kind of want to get a sense of what's out there in the space and what do we do that's similar or different than others, right? And this is what Perplexity does. Get back here. Is that it says deep research is going to take up to 30 minutes. And then, of course, I fast forward a lot of this. And so you can see it's starting to pull. It's looking at association 990s. It's starting to identify where this data might live. It then starts to analyze and extract this data. You can look at compensation reports. This is all public information, right? It's not going behind firewalls to do this. Anything that's public, it's there. And then immediately, this is the report that it gives me. But it also gave me 91 sources, right? So it gives me the comparison, and it tells me where I got it. So I can even go in and then individually look at the sources that that data got sourced from. And this is what I love about Perplexity. Now you can do this, and then this is the benchmark analysis, and I can ask it to be more specific. I can ask it to be more comprehensive. I could have said, I want the report to be 10 pages long, and it'll figure out how to fill in that space.